Namo Buddhaya and a very warm welcome, dear Dharma friends, to our Friday Dharma sharing session under our Dharma Dana lecture series. I'm Brother Eric and I will be your host for today. We are privileged to have with us Brother Tan Siang Chye as our speaker for today. Let us now bring Brother Siang Chye up online. Okay, now we will do. Okay, hold on. Namo Buddhaya, Brother Siang Chye.
Namo Buddhaya.
Okay. Okay, now we will do a short introduction on Brother Siang Chye. Okay. Brother Tan Siang Chye was a former student of BISDS at BNV and has served various Buddhist society in many different capacities. He is currently the director of Nalanda Institute and was the chairman of organizing committee of Wachana 2017. His talk centered around daily practice of the Dhamma and how these transform one's life. He feels it is important to understand the essential teachings of the Buddha as it will give Buddhists a strong foundation of knowledge and prevent them from wrong interpretation and practice of the Dhamma. Okay. Today's topic is entitled A Higher Happiness. With that, we welcome Brother Siang Chye to deliver today's Dhamma sermons.
Thank you, brother. Again, Namo Buddhaya, and a very warm welcome to this Dhamma sharing. Today, I would like to speak on this topic called a higher happiness. And in Pali, it has this term, Niramisa Sukha. So in this talk, I would like to offer to dear Dhamma brothers and sisters a different way of looking at the search for happiness in our life and how we can develop this Dhamma type of happiness to become more prominent and be able to enjoy experience such types of happiness in our lives. Let us now take a look at our existence. You know, we are already born into this world. And as we go through life, we are experiencing many, many different things. Sometimes we experience pleasant things, and sometimes we experience unpleasant things. There are times when we feel that things are going on very well, life is smooth, and at times we feel that life is very, very challenging indeed. Such as in the past few months, we have had to face this coronavirus pandemic, which is affecting the whole world. So our lives have had to change. We could not do the things that we were used to doing. And many people have seen this as a very, very difficult time because the government had to take drastic action to prevent the spread of this disease. So during this time, many people were not happy. We can see in other countries, there were people who protested having to live under a lockdown. They could not enjoy themselves the way that they were used to enjoying it. So therefore, they wanted to go back to the same freedom, the same ways of enjoying life that they were used to. So those were very, very difficult times for them. But I would like to look at the bigger picture, not just of one specific problem, but the bigger picture. How do we find ways to live a life that is satisfying, that is harmonious, and can bring us and our family members a lot of happiness. So we take a look at how we look at our lives. Yeah, it is definitely true that all human beings want to be happy. There isn't a human person who says, "Yeah, in my life, I set out to be sad." Yeah, there isn't one. Yeah, we know deep inside us that we are motivated to go out there and achieve, experience as much happiness as possible. Yeah, and then we spread it to our family and our friends. So we are conditioned. Yeah, our family tells us, our friends tells us, our teachers and our relatives tells us that there is a way for us to achieve these expectations. And I'm sure it is the same with everybody. Since young, our family and our friends, our relatives have said, yeah, you must do these sort of things. Because if you follow the advice, if you follow all these processes, yeah, it will mean that we have achieved something in our life. And having achieved these things in our life, it shows, yeah, that we are successful. We will have many possessions. We have a lot of nice experiences. Yeah, and this is what we go for. So what we are hoping to achieve is, in fact, pleasant experiences. We want to own things that are pleasant. We want to experience, yeah, nice experiences. We keep away from the experiences that are unpleasant. Sometimes when we go to a place that we don't like, or we go to some place that is very dirty and very smelly, yeah, it is very automatic, yeah, that we move away from those places because they are not pleasant to us. And so we want to accumulate, we want to collect pleasant things. Yeah, we want to own nice car, nice houses, yeah, property and all these things. And we want nice experiences. And that means we want to mix with our friends, we want to travel, yeah, we want to see nice things, hear nice sounds. So these things are our expectations. And so the more we have of these things, we think that we are happy. Because we have been told you must have this. Yeah, and when we have it, we feel happy and contented. But do we really feel, yeah, that we have achieved all these things that we want to achieve? Yeah, in a very meaningful way. Because what we really find, yeah, is that we do have pleasant things and we do have pleasant experiences. And because of these, yeah, we are happy. But these things are with us only for a while. Yeah, let's say we enjoy eating something, especially Asian people, yeah, and Chinese people, we enjoy our food. I've had friends who say, come, we go 30 kilometers to a certain place, and there is a very nice beggar chicken. Yeah, so to my friend, it is he doesn't consider it difficult to travel 30, 40 kilometers just to eat, yeah, this special dish. But what really happens is after we have enjoyed it, on the way home back to KL, PJ, yeah, we are already thinking of what do we want to enjoy in the next few weeks. So when that is over, we plan for the new experience. So it goes on. We anticipate this. We plan for a certain event, and after that, yeah, it's finished. We plan for another one. So yeah, it goes on. It is a cycle. Yeah, one event, yeah, one experience. It will come, it will go. Then we look for the next pleasant experience in order, yeah, to make us happy. because we think one after the other, it will make us happy. So this is the system, this is the framework, yeah, that we have lived with for a very long time. Now, let me share with you some data from some websites, yeah, and some organizations that have looked at the experience of well-being, of happiness, yeah, pursuit of happiness are not the same. Yeah, we have been thinking, we were conditioned since young to think that it is the same. But these psychologists, yeah, researchers have found out that it is not the same. So let me highlight certain passages that are important to improve happiness. Further than that, yeah, increases in neither national economic growth nor personal income have much effect on changes in the personal happiness of citizens. So this is what they found. Once we are comfortable in messages saying that the good life is the goods life, yeah, they're trying to encourage us to accumulate more and more and more of these pleasant things. But it says here, such messages bear a false promise because research shows material wealth will not bring happiness, yeah, and focusing on materialistic pursuits often diminishes personal well-being. So there is a point, yeah, after which, yeah, there is the law of diminishing returns, yeah, will set in. We need things to make us comfortable. But if we think that if we have more and more, we can be even more happy, the research here shows, yeah, it doesn't really hold water. As long as we have enough to be comfortable, we in fact reach a level of happiness that plateaus, yeah, that levels out. Here, I would also like to share with you some perhaps not so happy or not so pleasant news from the World Health Organization, yeah, which publishes these facts. Yeah, we know that depression is becoming a very common mental disorder. So it says here in their website, globally, more than 264 million people of all ages, yeah, are now suffering from depression. So what they are trying to say is depression is growing, yeah, in our societies. And here it is a leading cause of disability worldwide and is a major contributor to the overall global burden of disease. Yeah, it is growing so fast, yeah, that it is affecting so many people, not just in the Western countries, but in all over the world. And the facts also tell us, yeah, this, that more women are affected by depression than men. I'm not quite sure why that is so, but this is the data. The next key fact is this depression can lead to suicide. And there are effective psychological and pharmacological treatments for moderate and severe depression. So why do I introduce these information, yeah, as part of the talk? What I'm trying to say is that I think as a society, we have reached a limit to our structures of enjoyment. So because we want to add more and more and more, society expects that we can keep adding to the things that we own, yeah, to the experiences we want to go through. It is having a negative effect, yeah, on our lives. So it is not working. The system that we are used to now, that where we are pushing for more materialistic possessions, it doesn't seem to be working. And this is something which the Buddha has talked about when he was teaching 2,600 years ago. So he offered us a different way of looking at life, not just pursuing all these materialistic possessions and experiences. So let us take a look in a little bit more detail. How, from our point of view, how do we define having happiness? So it is explained by the Buddha that when we stimulate our senses, that is, we have good sights, good taste, good sound, good smell, good sensations, feelings, on our body, as well as good thoughts. When we stimulate these six sense bases, we get the enjoyment. When we stimulate good and get good sights, good sounds, etc., we enjoy it. So we say this enjoyment is happiness, or in fact, it is pleasure. So this is the way we measure happiness in life. When we enjoy it, through our senses, we say that a person is having a really good life. He eats well, he lives well, he enjoys well. All the things of the senses the person has, we say he is enjoying life. He is having a very, very good time. So this has been the measurement of life's happiness. And this is what it has been limiting us in the way we define happiness in our lives. So I would like to take you a little bit deeper. And for that, we need to look at the definition of this word feeling. Because when we experience something nice or something not nice, we get a feeling. And in the English language, because we are using the English language to communicate, let's look at what the definitions are in the English language. There are so many definitions for this word feeling. So one of it could be the emotional state. One of it could be an idea or belief. One of it could be when you touch something, do you feel hot? Do you feel cold? Or a sensitivity or intuitive understanding. For example, somebody could ask you, what do you feel about what is going on now in a certain country? Or the character of something. What do you feel about this person? What do you feel about this car? So there are so many different definitions. I would like to take you now through to examine the Dhamma definition. This is the definition that has been described in the Buddha's teachings. The Buddha gave this term Vedana to the feelings that beings are able to experience. So how it happens is that when sensations come into our mind, through our eyes, through our nose, through our taste buds, there is a feeling that arises. So basically, what happens is like this. When we see something, we get a feeling. When we eat something, put it in our mouth, we also get a certain feeling. That feeling the Buddha describes as Vedana. It becomes more specific and easier to understand. Because when we use English language, as I described just now, there are so many different meanings of the word feelings. But we use this word Vedana. It is quite clear what the Buddha is referring to when he talks about feelings. So feeling, it is explained further, are of three types. We can experience many, many experiences through our senses. Yeah, and our senses are the 5 physical senses and the sense of the mind. So when we have things coming through, when we stimulate, yeah, when our physical senses are stimulated by bringing in all these objects, seeing, hearing, etc., as well as thinking, using our mind, we get only 3 kinds of experiences, yeah, or feelings, as described by the Buddha. So when we see something, the feeling that we get could be pleasant, unpleasant, or it could be even neutral. That means we don't really experience whether pleasant or unpleasant. But what we are looking for, as I've been trying to explain, is we are looking for pleasant experiences all the time. We like to see, we like to smell, we like to hear, we like to touch, all nice things, so that the feeling experience in our mind and our body are all these pleasant feelings. And we run away as much as possible from the unpleasant feelings. So I hope, yeah, dear Dhamma brothers and sisters, you can now have a clearer idea about feelings or Vedana, the Pali word, that is experienced by us human beings. Yeah, if we look more clearly, yeah, if we examine it, yeah, with more sensitivity, we will find that it is just these 3 types of feelings, yeah, that we experience in our daily lives. Yeah, it is either pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. And that feeling, it is, although it is actually a mental experience, we can feel it, we can experience it, yeah, in our body as well. Yeah, when we have a pleasant feeling, the body also will react to it. For example, science tells us, yeah, this is what science says. When we are happy, when we have pleasant feelings, yeah, the pupil of our eyes, yeah, will widen. Yeah, it will open up. It will expand. That is the reason why people say, when I see this person that I like very much, the world became brighter. Yeah, it actually physically became brighter because of the pleasant feeling that we experience. The pupil of our eye expand and more light goes in, and then we think that the world is very bright. Conversely, in the opposite, when we see people, yeah, or we go through an experience, yeah, that gives us unpleasant feelings, science tells us that the pupil of our eye will contract. Yeah, when it contracts, less light will go into our eyes. So we see the world has become dark. Yeah. So there are many people who said, "Oh, when I see my boss in the morning, my whole world turned dark." Yeah, it really, really is a physical reaction. Yeah, our eyes either open up or the pupil contracts, and so it has a reaction on the amount of light. So bright world and dark world, all these things are a result of the feelings that we experience. Now let's look at it specifically and more in detail, yeah, from a Buddhist point of view. And for this, I would like to refer to a very famous monk who now resides in America, Venerable H. Gunaratana. Bhante G. Gunaratana was once the principal of my Sunday Dhamma school here in Kuala Lumpur. And then he was assigned to spread the Dhamma in the US. But he has become a very famous speaker on Buddhist psychology and the practice of meditation. So this is what Bhante has to say about happiness. He says, generally, people misconstrue the source of happiness. They think that by pleasing their insatiable desire, they can be happy. They do not realize that the means available to them to please their desires are limited by time and space. So Bhante further goes on and says, when you try to obtain happiness by pleasing unlimited and insatiable desire, by means limited by time and space, you end up in frustration and losing whatever little relative happiness you have. So what Bhante actually means is the happiness that we have now, following the way that we have been conditioned. I mentioned that just now, supported by data. What Bhante says is we only experience it in a short time, and we only experience it in a certain space, in a certain place, and it is limited. Then after that, it's over. So what do we do when it's over? We look for a new experience. So therefore, we think this is the way happiness has to be. This is the nature of happiness, because we do not know of alternative sources of happiness. And this is what I would like to introduce or describe to Dhamma brothers and sisters, following what the Buddha has taught us, that there's another way of looking at the source of happiness. Now we look at a different happiness, as I mentioned. And I would like to take this chart and go a little bit further with it. We have seen pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral feelings, Vedana, up to this stage. I would like to take my argument a little bit further. So there are two types of sources of happiness. The pleasant, the unpleasant, and the neutral can either belong to what we term worldly happiness, or it can belong to another category. This is the source which I am talking about. This is the source which the Buddha introduces to us. One is worldly, one is unworldly. So don't be put off by this description, unworldly. What it means is it is not following the way of the world that we are used to. It's a different way of approaching the subject of happiness. And what is worldly happiness? Its root is sense contact, which means to say how we enjoy it must be through the senses. And what is unworldly? It is rooted in renunciation. So two different ways, two different sources of approaching happiness. So when we have sense contact on one side, we have renunciation on the other side. What it really means is there is a strong grasping from the sense contact. And when we talk about renunciation, there is a letting go. So this is the premise. This is the structure of an alternative, a different way of looking at happiness as taught by the Buddha. We have to recognize how it works. The first one is we grasp it. The second one is we let go. Through renunciation. Renunciation sometimes is a very, very scary word. When people hear about renunciation, they think, he's asking me to shave my hair, wear the orange robes, and go out into the world, and not live and enjoy all the things which I have enjoyed up to now. That is outward renunciation. That is renunciation that we do to our physical appearance. We shave and then we wear different kinds of clothing. But it doesn't mean that once we have shaved and wear different kinds of clothing, we have let go. right? It doesn't mean that. There are some people who have not shaved, yeah, who wear normal clothes. They have less grasping and less attachment, yeah, sometimes than others who seem from outward appearance, yeah, to have renounce. So this is a different way, yeah, of looking at happiness in our lives. So let's examine it a little bit further and see whether it is relevant to us. Can we take on, yeah, these kind of practices in order to be happy in a different way? So I'd like to introduce you to the Niramisa Sutta. In this discourse, the Buddha talks about unworldly happiness. So the Buddha described three kinds of happiness in this world. The first one is the happiness that I talked about. It's mundane happiness, normal kind of happiness, involving the pleasure from the five senses as well as the mind. Yeah, because through our mind, we can remember experiences and we can make ourselves happy or unhappy. Yeah, we can give rise to pleasant Vedana as well as unpleasant Vedana through our minds. Have you ever noticed that sometimes people, when they sit alone by themselves, yeah, they are not doing anything significant. They are just thinking. They can make themselves happy or they can make themselves sad. So this involves not just the five physical senses, it's also the mental sense as well. The next one is supramundane, non-material happiness, which is based on letting go, yeah, of sense satisfaction, enjoyment of the senses. And it involves a, a form of renunciation. That means we are not so crazy about chasing after material happiness. We are not so crazy about chasing after sensual gratification. And therefore, we look at another way of experiencing and finding happiness in the world, such as I mentioned, letting go and the bliss of stillness in meditation. The third kind of happiness is ultimate supramundane. It is when the person has gone beyond the confines of the normal world, yeah, and has attained the stages of purity. And there is a direct experience of Nibbana. Nibbana is the aim of most Buddhists, yeah, because we think that Nibbana means we don't have to carry on, yeah, with the suffering and the stress that we experience in this world. So Nibbana is a lightness. Yeah, it is a liberation, yeah, from the suffering that comes, yeah, with our attachment to the world. So in the Niramisa Sutta, the Buddha describes these three kinds of happiness. So we already understand mundane happiness, number one. I'm now trying to describe, yeah, to brothers and sisters, the supramundane, non-material happiness. And if we go further, yeah, there is this ultimate supramundane happiness, yeah, which is a very, very, very liberating happiness, yeah, which the Buddha talked about. So let's now look more clearly at a higher happiness. So this higher happiness, as I've shown in the chart, yeah, comes from letting go. The confines, that means the restrictions and limitations of the sensual happiness, yeah, as mentioned by Bhante Gunaratna, yeah, is that there is a limit to it. What am I talking about? When we experience certain sensual enjoyment. That is, we eat something, we see something, we hear something. During the time of that experience, it brings us happiness. But there is a limit. Because in this kind of pleasure, we cannot enjoy it too much. When we push it and want to enjoy more and more and more, it turns back on us and it becomes pain and suffering. What do I mean? For example, I have friends who love durian very much. They love to eat durian. They will go and look for good durian to eat. So when they have found all these durian, they will pay for it. It's not a problem to pay for quality durian. So they keep on eating and eating. And there comes a time when the enjoyment has reached its limit. The happiness from that kind of sensual delight reaches a limit. But people sometimes do not know their limit. They go further than that. So what happens? When we suddenly eat too much durian, there will come a time when we will feel those limits, and our stomach, our body will react, against having so much durian in the system. It is the same way with every one of our sensual enjoyments. Whether we see, whether we hear, whether we smell, or whether there is the physical, tactile feelings, we can only enjoy it so much. After a while, it turns back. It becomes painful. We cannot go on and on and on enjoying it. We just have to stop. And when it stops, we take a break for a few days, and then we look for the next one. So it is definitely a cycle, indeed. But when we enjoy what is called the unworldly happiness, that comes from a sense of letting go. We don't grasp onto things. It is happiness, but it is light. We do get pleasant experiences from the time when we think we don't owe people money, when we don't have to work so hard in order to earn a living, and put up with the stress and the strain of earning a living. Then our minds become light. So this is the same way. It's the same way of experiencing the happiness of letting go. So here I would like to share with you some images of happy people, and they happen to be renounced people. They have let go outside, outer experience, and they have let go on the inside as well. So one of the things that is important is we have to be less concerned with ourselves, about what we have, about what we own, about what we are enjoying. When we don't think about ourselves so much, we tend to be more happy. But when we concentrate, when there is an emphasis on what we can enjoy, who we are, on our status, on our possession, it does give us a lot of stress and anxiety in our lives. So here I would like to introduce the happiest man in the world. He's a monk, from the Tibetan tradition, and his name is Venerable Matthew Ricard. If you want to know more about him, just go online, go on the internet, and type the happiest man in the world. And I would think a lot of the sites will be talking about Venerable Matthew Ricard. Here, I would just like to read to you what he says. I listen to his talks every now and then. And I extracted this from a talk which I heard. Reverend Venerable said, the real secret, he says, is my hermitage, which is 2 hours away from Kathmandu, facing the Himalayas. It's only 9 feet by 9 feet. It has a big window, but he has no heating. And you can imagine how cold it gets during the winter time. There is no hot water, any of those things. There are no comforts. It's just a hut, which is 9 feet by 9 feet. And he says, this is when I am there, it is the best place in the world. I would like to describe Venerable's position. Before this man became a monk, he was one of the world's greatest researcher, scientist in the field of microbiology. He was absolutely well known. And then he decided to give up all these trappings, all these possessions and name and status, to become a Buddhist monk and look for real happiness. So here it says, when he mentions, when he is in this place, in the Himalayas, when it gets really, really cold, there's no heating, no hot water, no comforts. This, to him, is the best place in the world, where he does his solitary retreat. He's there by himself. And Venerable mentions, this is where I get rid of selfishness. When he lessens his selfishness, when he can practice his meditation, he says it is the best place in the world. He further goes on. I like to read this. People put too much hope in outer conditions, as he said, where they can achieve their aspirations, thinking, if I get all that, I will be happy. But this being said, it is quite clear that your state of mind can overcome either good or bad circumstances. You can feel totally miserable in a little paradise, and you can retain your strength of mind, your inner freedom, even in terrible situations, if you have been trained for it. And I would like to share with you also my personal experience. There were times when I was working, I had to go with my boss and colleagues to entertain clients in very high class restaurants. And the food would be very, very expensive. So here I was, with my boss, eating all this wonderful food, very expensive food, with all these people that I do business with, but I was not enjoying it. It was very posh. The restaurant was very expensive. The food is even more expensive, but I didn't enjoy it. I also found that when I go out to the mamak store and I order nasi lemak and teh tarik with my friends, that food tastes even better than the expensive food in those fancy restaurants. So it is your state of mind. It is how you look at it. Whether you are stressed, whether you are having challenges and demands put on you. Sometimes the simple things are the better things. So now here I would like to make my case stronger with this Dhammapada verse. It goes, Mata Sukha Parichaga, Paseche Vipulang Sukhang, Kaje Matta Sukhang Diro, Sampasang Vipulang Sukhang. In English, the meaning is, if by renouncing a lesser happiness, one may realize a greater happiness, let the wise man renounce the lesser, having regard for the greater. And in this respect, when we look at, here I have a picture of Achan Amaro. He's a British monk, and he is standing in front of his hut. This hut is no more than 7 feet by 7 feet, and it is in the forest. At the same time, there are no modern comforts. But these Western monks, and there's getting more and more of them, choose to stay in such surroundings. And I sometimes wonder, why are these monks from the West? And we know that in the West is a very developed environment, developed countries. They have a lot of comforts and a lot of pleasures, and they can enjoy so many things. Why do these people want to go and stay in the forest where there are none of these comforts? There must be something there. What is it that they are looking for? And here we see in the other picture, there is this monk who is meditating in the cave. Why are they meditating in the cave? What are they looking for? What is it that they are experiencing that we are not experiencing? So I would like to tell you this story, which I myself went through many years ago. Yeah, I was attending a retreat. It was not a long retreat, it was a short retreat. Only about 5 or 6 days. Yeah, and then I practiced meditation, yeah, with a few monks. One of them was my teacher, yeah, and he would guide me through the meditation. So as I got nearer to the end of the retreat, after about 4 days, 5 days, I began to think, oh, in a few days' time, I will go back to my home. And when I am back in my home, I will enjoy all the things. My bed is there, the food I enjoy is there, the surrounding, which is very comfortable, is there. Yeah, I will have TV, internet, all these things will be there. Then I thought, you know, these monks, they cannot enjoy anything. Even when I have gone home, they will still be here, yeah, in the retreat center. I'm not sure what they really enjoy. So this was a very ignorant way of thinking. The next day, my teacher gave a talk. And he talked about, of all things, the simple way of being happiness. I think he read my mind. Yeah, he said, when a person is not attached to so many things, when a person doesn't have so many possessions, he is very light. Yeah, he can let go. He doesn't need all these material things to be happy. He said, those people who have no attachments, yeah, who doesn't have all these possessions, they can be happier than ordinary people. And then I realized my mistake. This is my ignorance, yeah, where I could not see, yeah, the truth in the nature of the teachings, the nature of the practice. That these people with fewer things, they are happier than me. So this is the way that I have come to realize the nature of not being so crazy about sensual delights, yeah, about the worldly happiness, because there is another way. We might not have to shave and might not have to wear the orange robes, but if we are not so crazy, yeah, about running after things, yeah, about training our mind to be still, yeah, we will definitely, yeah, have another way of approaching and finding happiness. But first, we have to understand the nature of morality, yeah, as a condition for higher happiness. Once the Buddha, yeah, Ananda and the Buddha were together, and Ananda asked the Buddha, what, O Venerable One, is the reward and blessing of wholesome morality, of keeping the precepts? And the Buddha, you know, began to describe one benefit after another benefit. He said, firstly, there is freedom from remorse. Yeah, and what of freedom from remorse? Ananda asked further. The Buddha said, from freedom of remorse, there comes joy. And from joy, there comes rapture. And from rapture, there comes tranquility. And from tranquility, there is happiness. Just from keeping morality, observing morality. And not that, it goes even further. From happiness, there is concentration. From concentration, there is vision and knowledge according to reality. And from that, there is turning away of detachment, and turning away of detachment leads one to the deliverance from suffering. So a very important prerequisite of happiness is that we have to keep the precepts intact. And as mentioned by the Buddha, there is happiness being experienced. This happiness is given the name, the translation. In Pali, it's called piti, is translated as rapture, happiness, joy, or pleasurable interest. This comes when the mind turns away from the gross defilements. Yeah, the mind doesn't look outward. Want to own, and the natural happiness of the mind starts to appear. And the Buddha has described the 5 levels of this piti, this rapture. The first one is minor rapture, where the person feels that he or she is experiencing something different from what he's used to. Then there is the momentary piti, and it comes into the mind and is experienced just for a while. It goes off, but it comes back again. And then there is a wave-like. You feel as though the piti is experienced like waves. It comes and goes in a wave-like form. It hits us, right? Then diminish, goes down, and then it hits us again. Then it goes down. Then it keeps on coming and going. Then there is the uplifting piti. In this uplifting piti, a person feels light. A person feels as though he or she is lifted from the ground, as though he or she is floating. There's so much happiness, and this is a very fundamental kind of happiness. It feels that the body is so light. At this point, let me share with you a very, very interesting story. Ajahn Brahm is a very famous monk in Australia. And there was one time he went to prison to teach the prisoners meditation. And in the first class, he found that there were so many of these prisoners wanting to learn meditation. And he was wondering, wow, this is a very good development. All these, prisoners, they want to learn meditation. And later on, he found the reason why they came to his class. They wanted to learn meditation so that they can lift themselves up over the prison wall and run away. And that was what they believed. Later on, they found out Ajahn Brahm was not teaching that type of meditation. And then the next class, much, much lower, much less participants. But this is a kind of an experience of joy, that comes from not being so attached to our sensory enjoyment. Then there is the pervading joy, that takes over the entire body. And the piti is necessary if we are looking for enlightenment, which means to say, although the Buddhists talk about suffering a lot, there's a lot of joy in our practice. There is so much pleasant experiences that comes from looking inward and not looking outward. So the Buddha has described this state of mind as having discovering a lake in the mountains. What does that mean, a lake in the mountains? You can imagine there is a lake, and it's a very clear and very beautiful lake, and it's found in the mountains. But the strange thing is, this lake is not fed by rivers. The water doesn't come from rivers that flow into this lake. So the lake is there. How does the lake maintain its water? It is from an underground spring. So what it means is, the Buddha used this simile, this analogy, is that happiness, which is unworldly, maintains itself. It doesn't need outside sources. Like my meditation teacher said, it doesn't need outside sources. Once you are able to let go and develop this kind of happiness, you don't need to look outside. So that is why these practitioners, these monks, these nuns, they go into the forest. They don't need so many things because there is happiness. Happiness sustains them. Happiness is their food, the spring that supplies water to this beautiful lake in the mountains. So now we take a look at what it means for us. We recognize that there is much happiness when we learn and practice the Dhamma, because it is an unworldly happiness. There are many people who come to the environment of the temple and the environment of the Buddhist center, but they have not learned the Buddha's teachings. So they do not benefit, they are not sustained by the happiness of the Dhamma. So if they don't have this Dhamma happiness, it is very likely that they will go off. They will go and look for other means of finding satisfaction and happiness. But this is when we take the effort to learn and practice the Dhamma. And in learning and practice the Dhamma, we know how to balance our life in order to experience the different kinds of happiness. So the joy that we experience from the Dhamma is different from the ordinary joy. And we come to the conclusion that this kind of joy is of a higher quality and more refined than that of the sensory enjoyment. So when we live a lay life, we need to balance these two kinds of happiness. Brothers and sisters, I'm not saying that after this talk, you must renounce. This is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, let us recognize that there are, in fact, two types of happiness. As lay people, we enjoy the senses. We don't say that it is wrong, but there is also the Dhamma happiness that we can access. Are we doing enough to experience that type of happiness? Are we doing enough to really understand what is it that the Buddha taught us and wanted us to benefit from? Because if we are not really studying and practicing what the Buddha has taught, the teachings that we find in the books, in the CDs, in the talks, it has not done much, given us much benefit. So we must take it upon ourselves to experience this Niramisa Sukha. Lastly, let me end this sharing by introducing this sutta called the Pabbasara Sutta, which describes the luminous mind. The Buddha said, luminous monks is the mind, and it is defiled by incoming defilement. Luminous monk is the mind, and it is freed from incoming defilements. So basically, the Buddha is saying the nature of our mind is luminous. It is bright. It is light. It is happy. Why don't we experience that happiness? Because we bring all kinds of nonsense into our minds. We bring this, we bring that, we bring jealousy, we bring anxiety, yeah. We bring all kinds of desire and craving into our minds. And so the true nature, may I call it the default setting of our minds, is not experienced by us. So the more we learn how to balance our life, we have responsibility, yes, but let us find time in the day, yeah, to practice the Buddha's teachings. We will also experience the other type of happiness. So there are two that we can choose. And there might come a time when the happiness is so strong in us, we will choose to stay with the lighter kind of happiness, the more meaningful kind of happiness, rather than holding on to those enjoyments which are very heavy, yeah, and pull us down. So the Buddha explained this in the Pabbasara Sutta, yeah, and he described the well-instructed disciple of the noble ones know how they can practice, how they can study, how they can understand to really experience another form of happiness, a higher level of happiness described by the Buddha. And of course, the Buddha said, Nibbanang paramang sukhang. Yeah, the greatest of all happiness is freedom from stress, freedom from anxiety, freedom from all kinds of suffering. Nibbana is the greatest happiness. Yeah, and this comes from Dhammapada verse 204. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your kind attention this Sunday evening. Yeah, let us make the aspiration to walk the path towards the highest kind of happiness, which the Buddha, yeah, offered to us, which the Buddha brought to us. Yeah, and as Buddhists, yeah, we should try our best, yeah, to see what is it that the Buddha worked so hard to introduce to us, so that we can also appreciate the worth, yeah, the value of the teachings, yeah, to introduce, to lead us towards experiencing this different happiness, a lighter happiness, yeah, a happiness that doesn't tie us to so many things that cloud our minds. With that, yeah, thank you again. Sadhu, sadhu. I'd like to hand the session back to Brother Eric.
Thank you, Brother Siang Chye, for the excellent sharing. It seems that we have several questions here posted online for us. I'll post it up for on screen for Brother Siang Chye to answer and for everyone to see.
Okay. Oh, okay. I would like to read it out. Here it says, worry, anxiety, and depression are all part and parcel of modern living. Do you think by practicing simplicity and contentment can help us to live a much better, yeah, and happy life? Yes, when we look at these negative states, yeah, the worry, the anxiety, the unhappiness, what is the cause of it? When we understand, when we know the cause of such, shall we say, negative mental states, yeah, they are states of the mind. Yeah, when this arises, what has caused it? So this is the approach of the Buddha. The approach of the Buddha is to know the cause of it. Yeah, and once we know the cause, we can address it. So the cause of all these unwholesome states, the disturbing states, is our grasping. We hold on to it. Yeah, all these things that we own, all these things that we want. Sometimes we don't have it yet, but we want it. So we head towards it. We could be already very, very comfortable. Yeah. But even though we are comfortable, we are not satisfied. We want more. We want what others are having. We want to increase, our possessions. So with that, comes the anxiety, the difficult states of mind, the depression, as well, because we cannot see a clear way towards experiencing happiness. We think that this is the way of our life, because since young, we have been told it's like this. We have not been told of an alternative. And you can see it in certain countries, the people are already very, very rich, but they are not satisfied. They want to have more and more and more. And so they get a lot of, shall we say, stress, on themselves, because they don't want to let go of what they already have, and they want to add on what they don't have yet. So that gives them a tremendous amount of stress. So as I said, when we talk about the unworldly happiness, it's there in us. We are born actually happy, but we lose the ability to be happy because our minds are always so busy looking for other things. Yeah, looking for the outside things. And when we experience it, it goes away, then we feel empty. What I enjoyed just now has come to an end. What do I do about it now? Let me find another enjoyment. So we chase the enjoyment one after the other. And we think that if we really, really enjoy, as I explained, if we enjoy too much, it becomes painful. We cannot take too much of it. Our senses has limits, but sometimes we do not know our limits. Sometimes we enjoy, and then after that, we pay the price for over enjoying certain things. Right? So therefore, the Buddha said, ambitious. Yeah, we are not saying don't go out and get things. We know that as lay people, we have to work. The Buddha was not against working. What the Buddha wanted us to do was know our limits. Yeah, don't work until there is so much stress. There are people who think that once they get into the system, they cannot come out of the system. There is a story of a Greek king called, if I can remember, Sisyphus. You can look him up. Sisyphus was an arrogant human being. So the gods, the Greek gods, they kind of cursed him. How did they curse him? They made him push a big rock up a hill. And when he pushed and pushed and pushed the rock up to the top of the hill, what happened was the rock fell down again. So what he had to do was go back down to the bottom of the hill and keep on pushing and pushing and pushing. And there came a time Sisyphus did not know why he was pushing this rock. In actual fact, people could see that if Sisyphus stepped aside, don't push the rock anymore, the rock will just fall down and he is free. But he could not bring himself to free himself from that curse. He was already free, because he didn't have to do it. The gods didn't curse him for so long and make him suffer for so long. After he did it a few times, the curse was lifted, but he kept on doing it. Why? Because he didn't know he was free of it. So the nature of our mind is we do not know how we can let go the big rock that we are pushing. So once we can see that we don't need to fight with others. We don't need so much. We don't need to accumulate. Yeah. Then our minds can become more calm and contented. So when the mind is calm and contented, we must know how to practice the right teachings of the Buddha. And when we practice that, the right teachings of the Buddha, yeah, we can become more happy, yeah, and more, shall we say, contented, yeah, about the spiritual things, yeah, in life, right? So I hope that answer is satisfactory to you. Yeah. People say we don't have a choice, but in actual fact, we do. It's only you have to be brave enough to take a different direction, yeah, for your life. We have another question here. Is it true when we enter samadhi or jhanas, we experience spiritual happiness? Many people desire to attain spiritual happiness. Is chasing spiritual happiness or a form of subtle greed? Is spiritual happiness permanent when we attain enlightenment? Very interesting question. I hope I remember all of it. Right. There is the Noble Eightfold Path. And the Noble Eightfold Path has the path factors: right view, right thought, right speech, action, livelihood, and yeah, it goes on. There is this last the last factor is Samma Samadhi. Every one of these factors has the word Samma. So Samma means it is right, it is perfect. What is it perfect for? This word Samma, yeah, like Samaditi, right view, Samma Sankappa, right thought or right intention, it must have this prefix. The word before it is Samma, meaning right or perfect. It is the same Samma as Samma Sambuddha. The title of the Buddha, we describe the Buddha, Samma Sambuddha. It is the same Samma we put before right view, right thought, right speech. So these right practices, will bring us to the meaningful and lasting happiness. The Noble Eightfold Path, the objective is to attain Nibbana. There are many other practices that can give you or some different states of mind, but it is not lasting because they have not followed it to make it be practiced and understood in a way that will be lasting. So when we understand why we are practicing it, Nibbana is lasting. The other, and even when we go to the heavenly worlds, the Deva worlds, they are not lasting. I mean, you can be there for long time. Yeah, some of the Brahma worlds, the beings there, they exist for billions and billions of years, world cycles. But after a while, that existence has to come to an end. It is not eternal. Whereas when you follow the Noble Eightfold Path, it will take us towards Nibbana, which I don't like to use this word eternal because it is a kind of, we put this time factor on it. Yeah. Nibbana will always exist. So you can say it's eternal, but it is not the eternal of holding on. Because we let go, right? The person, the being who attains Nibbana, will, in a way, experience this uniqueness that will never end. So it's not like heaven. It's not like the Deva or the Brahma worlds. It's not like that. So when we go into the earlier part of the question, when we go into jhana, right? This jhana also, if we practice jhana of the Noble Eightfold Path, the jhana which is samma samadhi, the last three, which is right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, or right samadhi. This samadhi involves letting go. There are other practices, so many that existed before the Buddha's time, that involve some kind of, shall we say, grasping. And the Prince Siddhartha, when he became an ascetic, he practiced this. And he found that this was not what he was looking for, because it involved some kind of grasping. So he left to find the answer on his own. And he found that as the enlightenment. When he became the Samma Sambuddha, he found the answer for the happiness that never ends, which is the Nibbana. So when we practice the Noble Eightfold Path, it is to something which is substantial, something which will never end, right? It is not like we imagine, because Nibbana cannot be described, but this state cannot be described. And it also does not end. It is the unconditioned way of existing, right? So walking the Noble Eightfold Path must make us light and happy. When we practice, when we study, and we become more and more sad, you are not doing it right. The nature of walking the Noble Eightfold Path is it will bring happiness to us. Okay, next question. Let's look at this. At ultimate supramundane happiness, are we aware of the sensations of happiness, bliss, or have we let go of the feelings of achieving ultimate supramundane happiness? I can talk about this theory because I have not attained this supramundane happiness. There are 4 levels of this supramundane achievements. 4 stages of purity, which I'm sure many of you know about. The first stage is called Sotapanna. Second, Sakadagami. Third stage is Anagami. And finally, when the person or the being comes to the end of the journey, it is called Arahant. What happens is, when the person practices purifying the mind, at the first stage, he or she, when the mind is so pure and so focused, the object of the mind becomes Nibbana. Now, we have many, many objects, but at a pure stage of practice, of mindfulness and concentration, sati and samadhi, following samma sati, samma samadhi, these are combined with the Noble Eightfold Path practice. It will take us to this stage where the mind is so pure that the gross defilements is removed. And at that time, the yogi or the practitioner experiences a glimpse of Nibbana, because the mind takes Nibbana. The mind takes Nibbana as the object. So the practitioner is not able to describe, because this experience is unconditioned. It is not like anything that he or she has ever described. There are no frames of reference, points of reference for the being to use when describing Nibbana. So whether it's pleasant or not, it is not pleasant in the way that we understand it. We cannot put our finger on it because the conditions are not right for us to experience it yet. So if you, brothers and sisters, find that it is worthwhile to put in the effort to really walk the Noble Eightfold Path to its end, then we can see the real characteristics of Nibbana. And I will be very frank, yeah, I have not experienced this. So I can only tell you the theoretical descriptions of it. What is the difference here between Viveka and Nikama? I'm not sure. What is the meaning of Viveka? I have come across it before, but I really do not know the meaning. I know Nikama. Nikama means renunciation. Yeah. And as I mentioned before, the renunciation doesn't have to be an outward renunciation. It can be letting go of those things which disturb our minds, yeah, which disturb our happiness, which disturb our peace, yeah, and contentment. So we learn not to, as I mentioned, not to be so crazy about so many things. Yeah, and we learn how to let go of this idea of the self. Yeah, we go and help. Yeah, we try to be of benefit, yeah, to others. Yeah, I'm not trying to remember the meaning of Viveka. It's somewhere at the back, but I cannot define it satisfactorily. Yeah, so I know Nekama. So Nekama means letting go. And in fact, there will come a time when we must let go, right, from this life. We have no choice. Our life comes to an end. And whether we like it or not, we must let go this life. So before that time comes, practice letting go. When we grasp onto things during the time of our death, yeah, it will not lead us to a good rebirth. Yeah, it will not lead us to a good rebirth. So therefore, yeah, we must learn how to let go, let go, let go, so that when that experience comes, we are used to letting go. And we let go the things of this life, and we will go on to the next life. Okay, there is another question. How do we as a family, working people, strike a balance searching for mundane happiness and looking for supra-mundane happiness without jeopardizing our family life and career? Yeah, I will give you my opinion. And my opinion is that we have to draw our limits. If you let life go on its own, following the dictates, yeah, the requirements of society, we will always chase what society wants. The outside world is always concerned with chasing and getting, yeah, and enjoying and more enjoying of the senses. If you think that what I'm sharing with you this evening is meaningful, yeah, and I hope it is, you must make a clear distinction about how much during your life or during your week, even during your day, how much you want to allocate towards the study and practice of the Dhamma, and how much you want to allocate towards the pursuing of a livelihood. There are some people, who say, I've had enough. I will only work enough to keep my body and my mind healthy, and then I don't want any more. So if you are in that situation and you don't have to keep on chasing and chasing and chasing, yeah, you are very lucky. Because some people, they are not well off. They have to keep working very, very hard. So in that case, my advice is do good deeds so that you can have the good karma to make a choice. There are people out there, they work and they are paid day by day. If they don't work today, they don't get any payment today. They are not in the position that we are, most of us are in. We can make a choice, but these people cannot make a choice. So in order to earn a worthwhile livelihood, they must work and work and work. So those people, if you are in that category, yeah, make it make a determined effort to do more charity, so that in future lives you will have time for yourself and your spiritual practice. So as I mentioned, you have got to make a choice, and the choice is how much you want to give to the spiritual activity and how much you want to spend working. So it doesn't, actually speaking, it doesn't have to be very hard. If you wake up early, you can spend that early period of the day on spiritual practice. You can do some chanting, you can do some meditation. And then during the lunchtime, when you have free time, you can also practice. And when you come home after dinner, you don't have to watch so much television or go internet so much. You will have to cut down on certain things and devote it towards spiritual pursuits. Go to the temple, go to the meditation center. Yeah, if you look at it as a yearly thing, I will work, but my leave, I will use it for meditation or for doing something good. And then you can see that your life, will take on a different quality, because there is spiritual richness in your life, right? And then you will feel different. So therefore, you work towards the time when you retire. And when you retire, don't retire too late. Because when you retire, you still need energy. And then retire so that you can devote almost all your time towards the spiritual goals, spiritual life. Yeah, and this is my advice. But I don't know. I was able to do it, and I found that what I learned during my working days, when I devote all my leave and my holidays towards the spiritual, towards practice of meditation, now that I'm retired, all that knowledge I can apply. And then I look at those older people who are just starting, they are struggling, and I'm so glad I started years earlier, so that I don't go through that difficulty, as the older people I see, they are going through now. If I were to go through it now, and the aches and pains and the demands and the learning, the technique and the practice and all that, I think I will give up. So I'm so lucky that I came into spiritual practice relatively younger. Okay, now let me take a look at this next question. May I ask, what is the blissful sukha becomes the aim for one, and she becomes wayward and deviates from making the effort to develop insight? I think I understand. Sukha is very pleasant. If you have not experienced it before, you do not know what your mind is capable of. It is a very, 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 very nice. And because it is so nice, some people are drawn into it and they don't want to come out of it. Some of the deep samadhi states are very, very pleasant indeed. The mind really sinks and the mind becomes very calm. It is kind of like a lake. and there's no wind blowing. You can imagine your mind becoming so peaceful. Yeah, and you can get attached to those kind of states. So whenever you practice, you want to go back there. Yeah, and when we practice looking at reality, it involves looking at the true nature of our body and mind. It can be very unpleasant because that is the true nature of our existence. Yeah, there is pain, there is unpleasantness. So some people, they get too attached to that. So my advice is try not to be drawn in. You can experience it, but understand it. Understand that sukha, that piti is great, but it's relatively coarse. You're going into the sukha and the absorptions, yeah, are very, very pleasant. But you must have your aim. Yeah, have your aim. Where are you heading? What is your goal ultimately? Right? So even when you experience very nice states, yeah, most when we practice the satipatthana, we experience a lot of pain. But there are times when the practice goes on well, we will experience very, very pleasant states. So those pleasant states also, yeah, be mindful. Yeah, take it as another object, yeah, to be watched and to be understood. Then we can keep to this path, yeah, of walking the Noble Eightfold Path. Okay, this other question. How can our last thought moment before we die guide us to attain a better rebirth? How do we guide ourselves, our mind, to have good thoughts before we die? Yeah, a very, very good question. Before we die, we must prepare. When the time of death comes, it's too late. So we prepare now for our death. Yeah. And while you are still healthy and your mind are still working, there is no what do you call this, dementia or Alzheimer's. Yeah, my father had Alzheimer's. I saw him suffering for so many years. He was a brilliant man, and he didn't even know who we were after the children, after a while. So but he was a very good man, and he contributed to the cause of the Dhamma for many, many years before this Alzheimer's took over his life. So we have to prepare. Meaning to say, we must have many, many good states of mind to fall back on. There will come a time during the dying process, we no longer can control our minds, purposely. We have no more control over our minds. When the dying process comes, the flow of our consciousness takes over. And it will take its own objects. It won't take objects from our conscious mind, our directed mind. It won't take the objects from that mind. So the more good that we have done, the more wholesome states will support our dying. So which means to say, we have to start early. Yeah, if we start in young days, we already have a lot of good states of mind. We can go into the wholesome states before, as I mentioned, the mind is no longer our control. Before that stage comes, we go into the wholesome states that we are used to. If we have faith in the Buddha, we have faith in the Dhamma, faith in the Sangha, hold on to that faith. And it will be very strong, that when the state that we cannot control, we have something very virtuous pushing us, accompanying us into that state. And when the mind takes these wholesome objects, yeah, as its focus, the last thought moment is wholesome, it is very likely, that the next birth will be a good birth. But if we are thinking of what we own, what's going to happen to my house, what's going to happen to my millions, what's going to happen to my property, you keep thinking, what's going to happen to my wife, my children, you are grasping so strongly. The next life will not be a good birth. You won't have a good birth. So one question I like to ask: do you remember your last life? Most people say, no, I don't remember my last life. And that is very good. Because before we came to this life, as we were dying in the last life, we could let go. And we come here as human beings. Those people who cannot let go, of whatever they possessed, they have strong grasping, strong desire to what they have. They cannot go peacefully. So sometimes, there is this Chinese practice. When the person is dying, in the old days, they encourage the relatives, the children, to cry. Then you are showing your filial piety. You are showing your love for this person who is dying. So as this person is dying, he hears the cries. He cannot let go. She also cannot let go. So, but have to die. So die already lah. Die already, then stay around the house. Yeah. Then once in a while, the children said, hey, I saw Gong Gong walking in the corridor. Oh, well, don't say those things. But because you call your Gong Gong, don't go, the Gong Gong die and stay around. So when the person is dying, try to encourage the person to remember all the good things, the wholesome things, the wonderful things that he or she has accumulated in the past. Use this as their objects. Remember, you did this, you did charity, you helped people, you did meditation, you give assistance to the needy. So this person will become happy. And that is a good way to support your last thought moment, the dying process. And then after that, go on to a better life, a good life, a good destination for the next life. Okay. Any other questions?
That's about all our questions today. Okay, thanks for the excellent answer from our speaker, Brother Siang Chye, and the equally good questions posted by our audience. Okay. Gentle reminder, dear Dharma friends, our next Dharma sharing will be on Saturday, 27th of June 2020 at 8:30 p.m. by Bante P. Panasiri Thero from Sri Lanka, with the topic, the correct way to take the 3 refuges. Okay. So instead of our normal Friday talk, this upcoming talks, our next talk will be on Saturday, 27th June 2020. Please take note. Okay, so before we conclude, we would like to invite Brother Siang Chye to share the merits accrued with all the devas and our departed loved one.
Yes, so let us compose our mind. Let us think about what we have been doing for the past, I think, 2 hours, 1 hour and a half, slightly more than that. Yeah, because we have been involved in wholesome activity, we have accrued very, very wholesome energy. And this energy, we call them merits. Yeah, but this energy can also, if we don't turn them into merits can be called parami, yeah, which help us, yeah, as we go from life to life practicing the Noble Eightfold Path. But if we are not pointing towards that goal, you know, they have become merits. And so let us think about the guardian deities, yeah, who got the Buddha Sasana, yeah, who got the dispensation. May they have a share of these merits. So let's think about sharing these merits with the Devas. Yeah, let us just mentally share the happiness and the understanding we have experienced for the past 1.5 hours with the Deva. May they protect all of us, yeah, well. May they protect, yeah, the monks, the teachers also very well. May they protect the Buddhist centers, the Buddhist temples well. Then let us turn our minds towards our departed relatives, our friends, yeah, that have gone on before us. They have made our lives meaningful. They have contributed, yeah, to the pleasant experiences of our lives, the comforts that we enjoy. So let us put our hands together, yeah, and recite, yeah, idam minyati namhotu. Yeah, remember your departed relatives and friends. May they also share in these merits. May they also have comfort in their lives. May they also have good destinations, yeah, as they proceed, yeah, with their journey in samsara. Let us chant Iddamme nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Iddamme nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Iddamme nyati nang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So with that, I hope you can make the aspiration, yeah, to walk this path, to study, to practice, yeah, and to experience more niramisa sukha, unworldly happiness.
Sadhu. Now we have come to the end of Dhamma sharing sessions. On behalf of Buddhist Mahavihara, we would like to extend our thanks and appreciation to Brother Siang Chye, also to our ever generous sponsor, and to all our audiences present today. Okay, may all beings be well, peaceful, and happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.